Welcome to the History AI podcast, where the past comes alive with facts, anecdotes, and a dash of humor. Here are your hosts, Chuck and Marco.
Hello, history enthusiasts. Welcome back to the History AI podcast. I'm Chuck.
And I'm Marco. Today, we're delving into a lesser-known, but pivotal episode of the American Civil War, the Battle of Picacho Peak.
That's right, Marco. It was more of a skirmish than a full-scale battle, but its impact was significant. Let's set the stage for our listeners.
The year is 1862. Across the United States, the Civil War is in full swing, with major battles dominating the headlines. But our story today takes us to a less-known yet significant theater of the war, the arid expanse of the Arizona Territory.
That's right, Marco. While the East was the primary battleground, the West held strategic importance. The Confederates had ambitious plans to expand westward, hoping to claim the gold fields of California and secure access to Pacific ports.
And amidst this grand scheme, Picacho Peak, a jagged outcrop in the Arizona desert, became an unexpected focal point. The Confederates aimed to create a Confederate Arizona, a move that could potentially open a new front in the war.
The terrain here was harsh, barren landscapes, extreme temperatures, and rugged mountains. This wasn't the kind of battlefield that soldiers in the East were accustomed to.
Exactly, Chuck. And it's in this challenging environment that Union forces, aware of the Confederate movements, embarked on a mission to disrupt their plans. The stage was set for a confrontation in a place that both sides never expected to fight a battle.
It was a chess game of military strategy, played out in the vast, unforgiving desert. The Battle of Picacho Peak, though small in scale, was about to leave its mark on the Civil War's Western theater.
A skirmish that underscored the national scope of the conflict and the lengths to which both sides would go to assert their control. On the Union side, we had the California Column, a group of volunteers led by Lieutenant James Barrett. Barrett, known for his determination and bravery, was a key figure in the Union's efforts to thwart Confederate ambitions in the Southwest.
Barrett's force was a part of a larger Union operation aimed at halting the Confederate advance into the West. His men, though not numerous, were determined and well-drilled, reflecting the seriousness with which the Union viewed the threat in the region.
Opposing them were the Confederate Rangers under Captain Sherod Hunter. Hunter, a skilled leader and tactician, was spearheading the Confederate push into the Arizona Territory. His men were a mix of seasoned soldiers and enthusiastic recruits, united by the cause of the Confederacy.
These Confederate forces were part of a larger strategy devised by the Confederate leadership. They aimed to establish a Confederate presence in the Southwest, hoping to gain resources and possibly open another front against the Union.
The composition of these forces tells us a lot about the nature of the conflict in the West. These were not the vast armies of the East, but rather smaller, more agile units capable of rapid movement and suited to the challenging terrain they had to operate in.
Absolutely, Marco. And this mix of experienced soldiers and new recruits on both sides meant that leadership was crucial. The decisions of Barrett and Hunter would prove to be pivotal in the unfolding events at Picacho Peak.
With these two determined leaders and their men, the stage was set for a confrontation that, though small in scale, was a critical part of the larger canvas of the Civil War. Let's delve into the timeline of this skirmish, which, though brief, was intense and significant. The events unfolded over the course of a single day, April 15, 1862.
Early in the morning, a Union cavalry detachment from the California Column, under Lieutenant James Barrett, was sent forward to scout the area around Picacho Pass. Their mission was to gather intelligence on Confederate movements and strength.
Barrett's men were moving cautiously through the rugged terrain. The desert was unforgiving, and the element of surprise was crucial. However, unbeknownst to them, they were about to walk into a Confederate camp.
Right, Marco. Captain Sherod Hunter and his Confederate Rangers were encamped near Picacho Peak. They were part of a larger Confederate force that had advanced into the territory, hoping to cut Union communication lines and gather support for their cause.
The confrontation began in the early afternoon. A Union scout spotted the Confederate camp and alerted Barrett. Instead of waiting for reinforcements, Barrett decided to attack immediately, hoping to catch the Confederates off guard.
The Union troops advanced, but the Confederates were alerted to their presence. A brief but fierce firefight ensued. Despite being outnumbered, the Union soldiers fought valiantly.
Barrett, leading from the front, displayed remarkable bravery. But, in the heat of the battle, he was fatally shot. His death marked a turning point in the skirmish.
With their leader down, the Union forces were momentarily disorganized. This allowed the Confederates to counterattack, forcing the Union soldiers to retreat.
The entire skirmish lasted just over an hour. But in that short time, it highlighted the challenges of warfare in the desert and the bravery of those who fought in such inhospitable conditions.
And so, as the sun set over the Arizona desert, the Battle of Picacho Peak came to a close, leaving a lasting impact on the Civil War's Western theater.
In the midst of the chaos and gunfire of the Battle of Picacho Peak, there were acts of extraordinary bravery and heroism that deserve to be highlighted.
Let's start with Lieutenant James Barrett. Despite knowing his men were outnumbered and outgunned, Barrett showed remarkable courage. He is famously quoted as saying, "I came here to fight, not to run away," as he led his men into battle.
His leadership and bravery were evident as he charged forward, not hesitating to engage in close combat. Unfortunately, this bravery also led to his demise. Barrett was shot and killed during the fight, a significant loss for the Union forces.
You know, Marco, they say Barrett was so brave, he'd charge at his own shadow if it dared to cross him.
That's our Barrett. Courageous, maybe a bit too much.
On the Confederate side, Captain Sherod demonstrated tactical acumen and leadership. He managed to effectively deploy his men, utilizing the natural cover provided by the terrain, which played a crucial role in the Confederate victory.
Another heroic figure was Private George Johnson of the Union forces. Despite the chaos and the loss of their leader, Johnson rallied his fellow soldiers, providing crucial cover fire that allowed many of his comrades to retreat safely.
And we can't forget the unnamed soldiers on both sides who fought with determination. Many were far from home, in a harsh and unfamiliar landscape, yet they stood their ground, driven by duty and belief in their cause.
These stories of individual valor and sacrifice paint a vivid picture of the Battle of Picacho Peak. It wasn't just a strategic engagement, it was a testament to the courage and resilience of those who fought.
Absolutely, Marco. The heroism displayed in this skirmish is a powerful reminder of the human element in the midst of war's grand strategies and political objectives.
When we analyze the tactics used at Picacho Peak, it's clear that the landscape played a crucial role. The rugged terrain and limited visibility shaped the engagement significantly.
Absolutely, Marco. The Confederates, under Captain Hunter, used the terrain to their advantage. They established their camp in a position that was not easily visible, which gave them the element of surprise. When the Union troops approached, the Confederates were ready.
On the Union side, Lieutenant Barrett's decision to engage immediately upon discovering the Confederate camp was bold. He hoped to capitalize on the element of surprise. However, this decision also meant that the Union soldiers didn't have time to assess the terrain or Confederate strength properly.
The actual combat was intense and close-ranged. Both sides had to adapt quickly to the unfolding situation. The Union troops, despite being caught off guard by the Confederate counterattack, fought tenaciously.
The battle saw 3 Union soldiers killed and 3 captured, while the Confederates had no casualties.
A somber reminder of the human cost of war.
In terms of the broader impact, the Battle of Picacho Peak was a wake-up call for both sides. It highlighted the strategic importance of the Western theater in the Civil War, which was often overshadowed by the larger battles in the East.
It also demonstrated the lengths to which the Confederacy was willing to go to extend its influence. The attempt to control the Southwest was part of a larger strategy to open new fronts against the Union and secure resources.
For the Union, the battle underscored the need for more robust military presence and strategy in the West. It was a reminder that every front, no matter how remote, was crucial in the context of the Civil War.
And finally, the skirmish at Picacho Peak, though small in scale, had a psychological impact. It was a testament to the unpredictability of war and the harsh realities of combat, something that both sides would continue to face throughout the conflict.
The Battle of Picacho Peak, while a minor skirmish in the grand scheme of the Civil War, had a lasting impact on several fronts.
First and foremost, it highlighted the strategic importance of the Western theater. The Confederacy's attempt to establish a presence in the Southwest was a bold move, aiming to extend their influence and potentially open up new fronts in the war.
This battle also underscored the Union's need to protect and maintain control over the Western territories. The presence of Union forces in Arizona following the battle increased, demonstrating the Union's commitment to safeguarding these critical areas.
On a tactical level, Picacho Peak taught both sides valuable lessons about desert warfare. The unique challenges of the terrain, the importance of supply lines in such an unforgiving environment, and the need for rapid adaptation to unexpected situations were all takeaways from this encounter.
The psychological impact of the battle shouldn't be understated. For the Confederates, it was a morale booster, showing that they could effectively engage and repel Union forces. For the Union, it was a stark reminder of the Confederacy's reach and resolve.
In terms of military history, Picacho Peak is a prime example of how smaller engagements can have disproportionate effects on larger campaigns. It's a case study in the importance of reconnaissance, the element of surprise, and the impact of leadership in battle.
Lastly, the Battle of Picacho Peak has become an integral part of Arizona's history and heritage. It is remembered and commemorated for its role in the larger narrative of the Civil War, and for the bravery of the individuals who fought there.
It's a reminder that history is made up of countless such stories, each playing a part in shaping the course of events. The Battle of Picacho Peak, small though it may have been, is a significant thread in the tapestry of American history.
As we wrap up, thank you, dear listeners, for joining us on this journey through history.
Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and share our podcast. Your 5-star reviews help us reach more people and continue to grow.
Have a topic you're curious about? Suggest it through our social media channels.
Until next time, keep exploring history. Step into the thrilling world of sports betting with The Starting Line, an introduction to sports betting. Whether you're a beginner or simply curious, this comprehensive guide takes you from the basics to the advanced. Learn to decode odds, develop winning strategies, and bet responsibly. Get your copy now and transform every game into an adventure. The Starting Line is your first step towards mastering the art of sports betting. Available on Amazon.